Catherine, the meeting on Monday night,
Yes.
how long do you think,
Um,
how long should we last?
Dawn's
It
coming.
didn't look very long.
late.
hopefully it
Jason's
can
not coming, but
go
Dawn's
on.
coming,
I'm
but
gonna
she's
say
gonna be
max
late.
an hour, but you never know.
Solar shingles.
Yes,
So
we're
I
talking about
think
that.
that one starts at 7:30.
7:30, how come, well, it's good one way.
Did you see the letter to the editor, Val?
I
Oh,
haven't seen it yet, but my mother called to tell me.
well, I'll try and get the, I just,
Kind words.
I s- have to go back to the doctor's
They
next
asked,
week and see if he's gonna let me drive.
they just asked me to ask you to make sure, has your planning board posting for Monday been emailed to the town clerk?
Yes, all set.
Okay.
That was done, I think, around 9:45.
Uh-huh. Are we on our live, Terry?
You should be able to go on the town website and see that.
Do we have the TV too?
Yes.
Okay, thanks.
Are we getting Dawn?
Yeah, she's coming a little bit later, but the ones we have the quorum on is not something that she was on at the same time as you.
Okay.
I think it's you, me, and Diane. Hold on, let me tell him.
Call the meeting, please.
Yeah, they asked me a question for Catherine. I have to let them know what she said.
I'm gonna check the town website.
All right, hold on. Oh, you're not late. Was that a quick
My
showing?
schedule changed,
Great.
but I do have to leave for at 2:15.
I do too, so let's make haste.
All right. We're going to open the meeting. This is not the correct agenda. So much for fixing it. John, wrong agenda. Throw the other one out. Coming your way. Coming your way. Terry, coming your way. Catherine, come. Terry, Catherine, somebody. There's an addition that was on the original posting that was omitted. So it's still omitted. A large group for a Thursday.
Wasn't Tuesday.
Well, we had a big agenda last week. We had like 2 people sitting in there.
Who's doing the same?
No, John. Under new business, there's another one. It would appear. Linnell fixed it. That's all I know. Linnell. Because we had to get it printed.
New business?
Yep.
I got one grand and 62 cents.
On the right one, yes.
Time is it?
Okay,
Can we call the
we're
meeting?
going to open the meeting at 1:08 on Thursday, March 20th. President John McLaughlin, Diane Coombs, Abby Camp, David Barham, Dawn, Phil Holgate, in the hallway, Linda Williams. This is a continuation of Tuesday, March 18th meeting. Anybody, and we do have an audio tape and a TV tape, so if anybody else wants to tape it, please let us know ahead of time. Anybody want to look at the agenda? Do anything with the agenda? Somebody want a motion?
Motion to approve.
Okay, David made a motion to approve the agenda. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Any public comment?
office mates, Assistant Town Clerk Nancy Holmes, and Office Administrator Gail Holbrook. I'm going to read a statement that I would like reflected in the minutes, and I will send it electronically to the minutes taker in order to not make more work for her. After being urged to do so by several members of the general public, we have reviewed the HDC minutes from the meeting of March 13, 2014. We have also viewed the video of that meeting. We take exception to the statements made by the chair and urge you to delay approval of the March 13th minutes until you have all the facts. We will be conducting a forensic audit and timeline of every HDC meeting posting receipt, and email from July 1st, 2013 forward. We do not expect it to take you very long. And when it is complete, we will ask to be placed on an HDC meeting agenda, and the three of us will present the data to you. Again, I respectfully request that you delay the approval of the March 13th minutes until we may make our presentation. If someone on the commission has a mind to do so, I would ask that a motion be made to hold the approval of the March 13th minute meeting until the town clerk's office can make their presentation.
Thank you very much. The minutes for March 13th are not before us, and they're not on the agenda at this time, so there's no delay involved because they're not on here yet.
Can we put them on the agenda?
When Terry gives them to us, they let us know when they come up. I understand that was the meeting that we had to vote on the open meeting law violation.
Okay.
And town council asked us to make the motion that way with what our understanding at the time was as to what happened. Because we have to do that every time we vote, that there was a violation or was not a violation, and that was the February 6th meeting, I believe. And the information given to us was as stated, not dreamed up by me, because I don't know what happened. It was just told to us what happened. So it wasn't anything that was malicious on anybody's part, Catherine.
Well, we totally understand that.
It was just what we were
We wanna
told
make sure
to do
all the
that.
facts are out.
That's fine. But then you'll have to email town George, because he has to respond within so many days after we vote. He has to then respond to the Attorney General. But he asked us to do that and then put the facts out on the table that we had in front of us at the time. So that's why, if you want us to hold it, just to make sure that those facts that George is going to put in his letter to Attorney General are correct, that's fine. That's great.
So if
They're
I
not up in
understand
front of
it-
us yet.
I understand. But if I understand the town clerk's comment, she'd like us to hold our approval of those minutes for her forensic audit. And my question is, you've said it won't take terribly long. Can you put some kind of a number to that? Can we do it in a way that it would
I
not?
think less than a week, we should have it ready.
I think that's plenty of time. Perfect, plenty of time. All right. I think that in the normal course of business, we're going to have an opportunity, all of us, to review those
Yep.
before we review the minutes
Because Terry,
without any other further action, if that's satisfactory.
yeah, Terry wasn't here, I think.
Yes, I was.
Was that the one you were here?
Minutes for the 13th
13th.
are, no, I wasn't.
No, you were at the ZBA.
But anyways,
You had the
the
tape.
audio, but the minutes from the 13th aren't due up for approval for at least 2 weeks,
Cool.
That should be plenty.
as we stand now.
Very good.
Because I don't think they didn't run out for review yet.
And that's fine. If there's something different in there, we can always re-motion what the facts are for George, so he has it. Because he called me the other day about getting the facts, and those are the facts that were presented to us, because we had no clue until way after February 6th that we had a violation. So, good, thank you.
Madam Chairperson,
Yep.
having what I just heard, I'll make a motion to the approved minutes and review minutes, hold them to next week.
Now, John, the minutes she's talking about are not on the agenda. So it has nothing to do with what Terry needs us to approve today.
I think they relate to each other, that's why I
They
made a
don't.
motion.
The town council is specifically after March 13th. That's it. That's the one we
Is that
motioned
correct?
on.
March 13th only?
Town council.
Or all of them?
No, March 13th.
I withdraw the motion.
All right, now we have a consent item signed at 19 North Water Street.
Diane?
Do we have a sheet in there from sign advisory?
Yeah, no concerns from them.
Okay.
Johnny? John?
This doesn't exactly tell us where it's going.
It looks like you see in this picture, it's going on the left-hand side of the front door.
Yeah.
Oh, this is the one,
This is Cook's right here.
right. Oh, this is the Harbor House Meeting House thing.
Yeah.
It's not a syrup.
It's real estate
They
office.
don't mind, but it's not a syrup font.
It should be a Seraph font.
Fund.
So somebody can make that motion, provided it's a Seraph font.
So,
Is that a blue we use?
We don't, it's their color, but the issue here is the, I don't know, are the edges beveled on this thing?
on the sign,
Yeah.
it's very hard to tell from that.
Well, that can be part of the motion, that the edges of the sign be beveled and that the lettering be serifed.
Okay. So moved.
Dawn's made a motion to approve with the
Through staff.
edges beveled and the font in serif.
I have a question on it.
Yep.
Was this new sign where it's photo down on Beach Street? Was he originally there?
No, he's moving his office.
I'm sorry?
He's moving his office in there. That was a meeting room for the Harbor House for a long time.
He's been here.
No,
No,
he's
that
never
was
been there.
the-
He's moving there.
It's an NAR space.
It's still part of the Harbor House project, but he's moving his business into that space. It's no
He's going
longer.
in here?
Yeah, he's going in there.
All right. Thank you.
So Dawn's made the motion to approve with the edges of the sign beveled and the serif and font and serif and font. All those in favor?
Aye.
Or Abby, you're not sitting. You're as the alternate. Catherine, Abby's the alternate, unless we have an established board. That was unanimous vote, Terry?
No, I haven't. I oppose.
Opposed?
Too many colors. Bless you.
Bless you. Colors.
Shouldn't be any older.
Sorry, it's 4 in favor, 1 opposed. John's opposed. There are no consents with conditions. There are no 60-day denials. We took care of the ones that we could find. Now we have a discussion about the rescission of a previous approval, 60212. Whoever's involved in this case can come up to the table. It would appear they're not here. Okay. They were given an opportunity on Tuesday and Thursday, and they didn't exercise that opportunity.
Can I distribute a
Yes.
couple pages?
While he's doing that, I can give you the rundown of the conversation, because we have a request for legal services that was approved. In the Act, Section 10, subsection A, violations. It's when you knowingly submit information that is not accurate. We have the right to rescind, because the decision was based on false information and not an understanding of the project. There are a couple of issues here. The fences, did I not get a copy?
I don't think I gave you one. I'm sorry.
The fence is backwards. When we approve a fence, the bad side's supposed to go towards the person who has the fence, and the good side towards the other side. However, in this case, the bad side is towards the neighbor, only a foot away from his porch, and the good side is towards the road. However, that's an enforcement issue, and he said that's a mitigating factor, but George said it's an enforcement issue as opposed to the reason to rescind the approval. And what we were shown in the original file, because we did look at it, was this as a locus plan. Okay? We went back and pulled out the plans for, I had Leslie pull out the plans so we could confirm it, for
It's actually in the pack.
Woodbury.
Page
And
3.
Page 3, I guess. That lot does not exist. There is the address that was given to us on the application page was 16B Barnabas Road. There is no such thing as 16B Barnabas Road. Lot 16 is the roadway layout. It is a land court road, which means that this lot that we saw does not exist. This little pink thing is actually part of the land court. You can't change it unless you go back to land court. Part of the land courted road. So what we did was approve 4-foot natural-to-weather board fence of about 50 feet in the road layout. So not only was the address not correct, the plot plan was not correct, the information that we based it on was not correct, thinking it was just a low fence between a neighbor and the roadway, when it actually cuts across the entire front of Mr. Troxell's house, wrong-sided to the street, and anybody who's actually been able to go up there can see it. It's not something that we would have ever approved.
That's taken
That's
from
his
my
house.
side of the
There's
line.
his steps, right there.
Right, no, but
The good side.
the good side should be facing the road.
No.
The good side should be facing the person who did not install
Person who did
it.
not install it. That's the rule. Now, because this lot doesn't exist and there's no house there, it would be the bad side facing the road, but we didn't realize that there was no lot there. We never would have approved it.
Who owns lot 16?
Lot 16 is still, it's owned by a trust,
Woodbury Lane Realty Trust.
which Bruce Poor still has control of, but the people who live in Woodbury have the right to control it. Also, it's a little bit murky, because the control of the road was never, we looked at those documents, was never turned over to the Woodbury neighbors, who have the right to pass and repass. So that's a legal issue, but the lot doesn't exist.
Right, I
The
know.
address doesn't exist. It's in the road layout of a land
And who
quartered
put
road.
up the
Do we have
fence?
language for a
Who came
rescission?
in for the fence?
Who what?
Who's the
The-
representative that came in?
Brooke came in, but he didn't know any of this either.
Yeah, but who wanted the fence? Who
Bruce.
was controlling it?
Bruce.
Then the wrong side should be facing out on the street.
The bad side should be facing the street.
Right.
As
That's
well,
just-
though, one of the things that Linda didn't point out is that this is 4-foot natural to weather.
Right.
Every other fence along Woodbury and Barnabas Lane is
It's all picket.
white capped picket.
Right.
And as you can see from the pictures, I mean, it's not in conformity, it's a total eyesore. People have called me and said, "Why did you put up this fence?" And I said, "I didn't." "Well, the pickets are facing the street, so you must have put it up." That's what they say to me. Okay? And people around in that neighborhood are very upset about it, as obviously am I.
But they don't have
Do
the
you
right
know
to-
who put it up?
From town
Yes.
council for a rescission?
Who put it up?
The Woodbury Lane Realty Trust, and Bruce
Who's
Poor
Bruce
is...
Poor?
Bruce Poor,
Not the
right.
name, not the Woodbury principals.
And he came and put it up.
Yep.
I got a call from a friend of mine who drove by and said, "Why did you put up a fence?" And I
All right.
said, "I didn't put up a fence."
We're going to cut to the chase. David has asked what town council's advice was. Town council did say we can rescind the original COA based on the misrepresentation of facts. And had we known all those facts, we would not likely have approved this fence.
No way would we have approved.
No way. Yeah.
So that's, and then he'll craft the response for the rescission.
Okay. My motion then is that we seek language crafted by the town council to convey our determination that through inaccurate statements on the application for a fence at this address, the HDC discovers that it has permitted a fence that would not be allowed under its normal process of review.
Add in the fact, we have to base the facts that there is no such address.
Yeah, I wish to cite in particular that the address quoted for the property is inaccurate and not existent as an independent lot, and that the plot plan also was in error.
Twice.
And the,
Once is enough.
the fence is actually in a land quartered road layout.
You know, I don't think we need to gild the lily. We've got multiple
No,
ways.
that's
to-
one of the reasons why again
Fine.
this exists, because that's why there's no address, no plot line, no nothing.
Can I ask one other question?
Hold on 1 second.
When you're ready.
Land quartered road layout. And the issue of the fence not being appropriately constructed isn't, we wouldn't acknowledge that it's an enforcement issue, so let's
Just leave it
throw that
out,
in.
leave it aside.
Okay. All right, Diane, that's David's motion. Can I get a second for discussion purposes?
Second.
Okay.
On your fence, this is your house, right?
Yes.
It goes right across your driveway.
Yes, but point of clarification, it's not my fence. But
But that fence,
it goes right across the driveway.
sitting in your front yard,
You got it.
is going across your driveway.
Yes.
Let's not go too far down that road.
I just wanted to,
It does, but he legally does not apparently have the right, though it's been allowed for
30 years.
30 years since the house was constructed, to use it to access Barnabas Lane. So he theoretically can block him from having driveway access to Barnabas Lane, though in practice that has been allowed since the house was constructed, the duplex was constructed. The problem is that it's a land-courted road, and there is no adverse possession. Or Sarah can probably speak to that better than I can, but there's no way for him to gain access without getting access from Bruce or the people that live there.
Linda, this
Which
is
is all
interesting.
another issue.
This is interesting, but it's
But that's why it goes across the
beside
driveway.
the
It's not the
point.
issue.
Let's move on the matter.
So David's made a motion, Diane has seconded. Is there any further discussion on that motion? And do you want the language to come back to us, or do you just want him to craft the, based on that?
I think it should come back to us.
Okay.
I think you want the board to have seen it and stood behind it in full. I don't question his ability to do it, but I think it has further force if it comes back to the board.
Okay. So David's made a motion to seek counsel. We already have an RLS for it. To have a rescission crafted by town council for the reasons just stated. All those in favor?
Aye.
John?
I'm opposed to the motion.
Okay. John's opposed to the motion. So it's 4 in favor, 1 opposed. Thank you.
Thank you.
And just for the record, this was Dana Troxel.
Yes. It's Dana Troxel.
He didn't quite get there. Troxell.
D-A-N-A?
DAN.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Sort of a yes. I'll put that in parentheses. Okay, we've had somebody hanging around here waiting for David for some time, so where are you?
Sorry to keep you waiting.
Catherine, this is Clark.
Thanks.
We need to know, there are 3 of us on it. I think I put it on, yeah. Myself? Yep. It's only Diane, myself, and David. I held out that other application. It was a full application. That wasn't just an application.
I wasn't sure what to put in there, but I'm glad I called.
Put it away for now.
Great. Did you get the new pictures? You did.
Explain. Oh, Al Coffin for the record.
Al Coffin, representing Lawrence Clark. You guys have all seen this. This is the dormer change at 13 Bank Street. We had 2, 4, and 1 waiting for a viewing. That was you, David, last time, and
Yes.
you got a chance to go out there and take a look at
I
it.
have viewed it.
One thing I would like to point out, a short history that I explained to Linda about this property is, if you look at the site plan, at page A1, where it's located, you see a square enveloped in another piece of property. My client bought this property sight unseen as an internet repossession auction, and the person that owns the property all around him wasn't real happy about it. So the first thing she did is put up this gigantic hedge that you can tell from the pictures after only 6 months of being there, it's already almost to the roof peak of the rest of the house. It'll never get trimmed as long as she's alive. The only way this hedge will ever get trimmed is if she owns this piece of property and he's in no hurry to sell. So in terms of being able to see it, it's the back side of the property. It's enclosed on hedges on all sides. It's one little dormer.
It's not really a dormer. It's a...
Well, it's changing an existing dormer from a shed dormer into a dog dormer. Not changing any square footage, not making, this dormer, when it's done, will still be the smallest ridge of the 3 ridges on that cottage, so it's still the shortest dormer. So,
David?
This is a cottage we had a very similar application for before us 18 months and 2 years ago, which we turned down. And I'm fully aware of how tiny the building is and how low the headroom is.
5 feet.
Even for me.
Yeah. On the other hand, I'm aware of more than one residence in Sconset which has addressed that headroom problem by going down in order to preserve the low scale and appearance of the building on the outside.
You mean both? They can't go down. The water table's right underneath the building.
Not Cottage Park, we can't.
You can't go down anywhere in there. Nobody has a basement.
You know, I think that this little building, the way it is so typical of Codfish Park, and I think that there's been so much enlargement of the little buildings there that we're in danger of losing them all. And I'm very reluctant to alter this. I think the character of it needs to be preserved. I think there's certain hazards that one takes on oneself when you buy things sight unseen over the internet. But I think that this kind of structure is a distinguishing feature of Codfish Park, and I don't think we ought to alter it.
Okay, thank you, Diane.
I agree with Dave, but I want to throw in too is the use of 2/2s on the east elevation, which are not on the existing, and
Yeah, they
I
have
think-
3 of them on the existing.
Yeah, they are.
Other sides.
on the other side they're not. On that side they're 3/3s or whatever
That
they are.
certainly changes.
That's what's jarring to me too, Diane, those 3 windows.
Yeah. And I can't see that the height is being increased.
Nope.
How much longer is it getting?
It's not. It's staying within the building envelope.
It's staying within the, okay.
We're only
Diane, if you
changing the
look at
roof
the
plane.
south elevation, the right side of the south elevation, they have a lean-to on that
Yeah,
side.
they're putting a roof
And
on
they're
it,
just putting another 4 or 5 feet on top of it.
but that becomes, that 3-window,
That 3 windows is a problem.
Okay. We
thing.
can work with that.
If they change the windows, because Diane,
6/6.
if they change the windows and take the center one out and just put 2 windows separated over there, that would work for me. That's where my eyes keep going right to the windows.
Mhm.
But they should be, they don't have any 6/6s on the building, but they do have top sash.
There's 6/6 or 3/3s
They're
right now.
3/3s it all is, except for the 2/2.
We could go with that too.
Two 3/3s?
Mm-hmm.
I could go with that. What do you think, Diane?
The existing west elevation, I don't have any new drawing for that. Is that because it's going to stay the same?
The west elevation is the street. That is Bank Street. So there are no changes at all.
And there's no changes at all?
Not at all. This entire project is on the back side of the building, not visible from the street.
Down in their driveway?
Well, that north elevation has visibility.
I'm not concerned about
If you go down the
alley.
alley, yeah.
If you go down the alley.
Yeah, well, people wander all over the place.
Well, it actually makes it look better, in my opinion. It extends that ridge out and takes those 7 different planes of roof and combines them and
Yeah, but
evens
that
them out.
kind of additive massing on a little tiny structure is so typical of Sconset.
Not anymore.
Not anymore.
Well, that's why I'm opposed to
Find me
taking
one.
it away. I mean, if you look at the upper right-hand portion of the page, and you see the small thumbnail of what's existing, with the shed roof appended to the existing gable, and then the new version below it, you know, it suddenly goes from looking like something that is unmistakably Sconset, the kind of thing that you find nowhere else, to the kind of thing that you could find anywhere on the island.
All right, we've heard your position. My position is if they change those windows on the east elevation, I don't have a concern, given all the little whoop-de-doo things we've done to every other one in there. Diane, where do you sit?
I don't know. I'm. I think David is right in this particular building, being it's on the corner, even though that's a private, whatever they call it, way. It is a building that you see a great deal of, really on all four sides. And I don't know what else you can come up with, but I'd like you to think about something else, keeping that silly roof line and adding on somehow else.
They don't have anywhere else to go, given the lot. You do have an application for next week to get a full board back on this, because it's been difficult.
I know.
So even if we held it for revisions, I
Is
think we
that-
might have another.
Yeah.
Is that still in there, or do I need to go
I
back
still
and read
have
it?
it in there. It can go on next week. So do you want to withdraw this application?
Well, addressing what Diane said, you really can only see it on two sides, Bank Street and this, what do they call this way? I don't even know if it has a name.
It doesn't have a name.
It's just a walking way with one parking spot there. So the other two sites are surrounded by this lady with a massive two-story building here and a massive 2.5-story building here. I mean, those buildings aren't shown in this area, and it's just shadowed by
I'll tell you
what's
what,
going on.
I haven't seen it for some time, because it's been so long and I haven't.
We'll take a drive. It's the first day of spring.
May I suggest that we take another view of it? Would you mind that?
Absolutely.
Okay. So, and I'll put the other one in.
Keeping in mind
Put the
that
other one, just so you know, I'll put the other one on the new agenda.
keeping in mind I have no problem changing the windows.
Okay,
Come up with something. And then, Diane, do you want to bring it back next week?
Yes.
We've got the new one on next week also.
Okay. Thank
we're
you.
bringing it on Tuesday, right?
Okay, so is that your motion, Diane, is to continue this to Tuesday?
Yes, please.
Are you viewing or continuing?
Diane's going to view on her own. I've already been out there, David's been out there. So Diane's motion is to continue to Tuesday. See if we can come up with better pictures of the houses around you, which we don't have. We've got too close on this house.
I understand.
Back it out, and then see what you can come up with on these windows.
It's tough to get in there on those two sides because of
Get out
her
to the
property.
street and take a picture. So that's Diane's motion. All in favor?
All right.
Okay, thank you. We'll see you on Tuesday, beginning. I'll put the other one in. Okay. Here we go. David.
Yep.
Now we've got theater workshop.
I'm back. Hi, Lisa Soder on behalf of Theater Workshop.
Did you get the name, Terry?
Yes. The last time we were here, you had some concerns about the sign that we had originally proposed, and we have taken your concerns to heart and have redesigned the sign in a manner that we hope is more acceptable.
Who's on this over there? Oh,
The HDC has approved it subject to our making the border,
Sarah,
the bevel smaller, less black,
and no logo.
and no logo, obviously. This is the sign that's closest to the one we submitted. I only have 5 copies, but I could, maybe you could
You need
share.
to go on that?
Do you have a board sitting on this?
It's everybody at the table. They've reapplied, they've already gone back to,
Share one?
Lisa, the biggest thing is that you've gone back to the sign advisory committee and they've approved
Yes.
it.
They have approved it subject to our making the black border smaller and to making more white space. So I have 3 options here for you. These have smaller borders and
Don't talk.
more white. Don't talk?
No, you can keep talking, but I can't hear when we're talking.
Okay. And
So-
more white
Oh, I
space.
see it.
So I've numbered them, so you can pick.
This is what sign advisory said to do?
Yes.
Yeah.
The border is thinner?
Border thinner and smaller lettering.
John, this is what sign advisory said?
This is,
Bless you.
We have a couple of versions of it, so you could see. This is even smaller, the third one. And in the second page, you could see how it looks on the building.
All right. So this was approved, no, it was withdrawn. So
Sorry?
it was deadlocked.
Oh, last one.
But this is, this took off the little round thing that they had on it, and a couple of other things that were objectionable.
It was like this.
I don't know if you can even discern that there's a difference between this other than a millimeter, the black. I can between this one.
You can. The font has obviously gotten smaller. You can see the distance between
here
the
we go.
top and the border is,
Is this the preferable?
yes, it is.
Okay.
I like number 3.
Yeah, that's this one.
I'd like to make a motion to approve item 3.
All right, this is option 3, and I'm marking that. Everybody can mark their copies. You get rid of those, because they're going to get confusing. So up in the corner, right, option 3, on the one that we're using. John, it's got a little 3 up there in the corner. That's the one David's made a motion for. All those in favor of David's motion on option number 3?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank
Oh,
you.
there's its mark.
Very much appreciate
That
it.
comes back. I'm getting rid of the rest of these guys, because this is just going to create havoc.
What, we throw these out?
Yeah, just throw them out of it.
Here's the good one right here.
Okay. Alrighty, so we've got that taken care of. Thank you very much. So what was that? Theater workshop? All right, Mount Vernon. David, we've been waiting for you to come back. We did approve some minor changes, but we've been waiting for you to come back on the color because they've changed one color pretty radically.
Okay, thank you.
Or asking to change one.
Asking to change. I'm having an issue with the color. We don't really have a board yet because we've been waiting for you.
Is this a first hearing then?
Yes.
Okay.
Unique stuff. I think what we really need are the color chips. You may have the wrong file. There were 2 files, one we approved and one had color chips. So if the color chips are not in there, that's the wrong file. That's the regular board.
So should I go?
Go.
Sure. Thank you, Madam Chairwoman. So
There's more than one color chip though, guys.
that's actually the only color we're looking to change. So I don't know if you remember the previous sequence. We had the dark green. Basically, it's gray clapboard, white trim, and then the dark green sash and entablature.
And doors.
The front door, everything except the front door. The door is actually white with some blue accent pieces. And doing a little bit more research, we found that this is actually, it's like an aubergine, and it's actually the same color that's next door. And we actually have 2 samples painted on site. I don't know if it's worth, I had them done in case you guys wanted to go look at it, but basically we're looking to switch out the dark green for the aubergine.
So have we got the full palette on site?
Yeah.
I think we should go and look at it, because you can't just swap one color in out of 3 or
That's-
4 and not see the full palette.
So we had the...
Do you have this on the windows now?
Yeah, we actually have 2 sections. I mean, it's not the nicest work. I did some of it myself, so. But I think it's not a bad idea for everyone to look at it anyways. Is there any way,
Only
yeah.
if you can be, David, you gotta be there because we've been waiting for you on
Yeah,
this
I'll be
issue.
there. I can look at colors even in a weakened state.
Yeah, there you go.
So
Yeah,
we
just
probably
do a
should put it to
drive-by.
next week then,
Yeah, let's do
because
that.
we've been carrying it.
Let's do it.
Okay.
Okay, so we're gonna, and you've got, what has been painted, the left side?
Actually, the scaffolding's along the front of the building, so it's the right side, it's the driveway side. You can't miss it if you just look up. It's basically the portions of the entablature, about 6 inches around the window with the gray, the glacier white. And then if you actually, just to a point of reference, if you look next door, they actually have integrated a similar color. It's
That
kind
is
of-
my worry. You will never, ever find 2 Victorians, not even in San Francisco where they're attached.
Yeah.
2 Victorians that have the same color palette, ever.
They use it much more sparingly. You know, it's a small accent piece,
Yes.
and you don't even notice it, but it's worth pointing out anyways.
Well, in the interest of covering
Yep.
as many as possible, let's look at it and return.
Thank you.
So David's made a motion to hold this for a view to the beginning of next Tuesday's meeting. Any further discussion? All
Aye.
those in favor? Okay. Now we're down to automatics and regular views. Miklos. We have to stay through number 6 and 7. That's a good thing.
Good afternoon.
You want to identify yourself?
Robert Miklos, 16 Prospect.
I don't believe there's a board on either of these either. We've never talked about this, right?
No.
So we haven't, this is the regular board sitting. Go ahead.
You may remember,
We need plans out on the table.
in 2010, I renovated the house on the corner of Prospect and Mill Street for my family use. This is a proposed second dwelling. It's designed in proportion and detail consistent with the 1840s original Greek Revival house.
John needs a copy.
I know, he's getting good.
It's about 1,900 square feet overall, 20% bigger than the original house. The original house is only 830 in its footprint. It's still well under the allowable coverage. So the idea was to recall the tradition throughout Prospect Hill and on the outskirts of town of outbuildings, in this case, the idea of a carriage barn, and it's separated from the house by about 18 feet from the next adjacent house, about 16 and a half feet. It complies with all the side yard and rear yard setbacks. It does have approximately a 5-foot front yard setback, even though one is not required. And I can pass around the model. That might be helpful. I'm a little old school. I don't operate well in the digital age, so I have to use a physical model. The second dwelling, the barn, would be clad entirely in white cedar shingles with naturally weathering to gray. The trim is all white. The roof black free-tab asphalt shingles to match the renovated house. It carries the roof pitch and the cornice detail of the original house, but has none of the other classical details, as would be typical, I think, in the mid-19th century.
Thank you. Just for point of reference, he does have to maintain a 5-foot setback from Prospect Street. You already have your 0 on Mill Street. You can't have 2 zeros.
Oh, okay.
From a zoning perspective. So you've already got your 0 on Mill, so this has to have 5.
Okay.
Okay, Dawn.
It kind of struck me was, I feel like if it was a barn building, that it wouldn't have had that trim detail carried over.
Oh, the
All right, let everybody go before you respond.
I may in the wrong direction, but I just feel like all the barns I've seen on Nantucket didn't have any formality. And I also don't think I've seen anything that would have been so close to a main road. I'm concerned with the way it presents itself to Prospect Street with the window pattern on that particular side, which is south elevation. It's not convincing enough to me as a converted barn. The windows on the other side are definitely a concern too, as is the large shed dormer. I'd like to hear what the rest of the board has to say.
David.
Yeah, I agree. The only barn that I can think of on the island that carries elaborated trim work is the one at Moore's End. And while I admire the trim work and I think it's handsome, I think it's not appropriate on this structure. I also think the structure is much too big for the companion existing structure already on the site. It's too tall, it's too close to the road, and the fenestration is too haphazard. I think it would be a more successful approach to place something that is plainly a residence, another appropriately scaled small residence on the property. But I think this is overdevelopment, to my mind.
Diane, do you have anything to add?
Yeah, what is the height of this?
To the ridge, it's 24 and a half feet. It's the existing house, depending on where it's measured, is about 22 and a half. So I actually did this proportional study, which might be helpful, that shows the existing house versus the second dwelling.
Well, the square footage of your new building is 1366. The square footage of your existing old house is 851. I go along with David. This building should, I don't feel, should overshine the old building in front, and it's taller, wider, and a lot bigger. And the thing, I think it needs to be smaller and much simpler and pulled in so it isn't running on all three sides to the property line.
Thank you. That will let everybody go. John?
Yes. Number one, looking at the photo and knowing the property. In the past, this commission made a great mistake, according to the photo, as to what's there, is to use the tilt-out windows in the old historic area. And this is one of the points I've been mentioning for years, and nobody ever wants to back me on it. There they are, hanging out.
Okay, John.
It's a modern type window.
Let's talk about the project.
Let me finish, please. The windows throughout the house is chaotic fenestration. There's nothing there that fits in. The transoms are not on the north elevation. They're right on the road, and transoms like that are not acceptable in that area, in the old historic area. The E windows you have listed down as awnings in the cellar. You have listing the C window, 9 light windows.
Those are casements, yeah.
They should not be in this structure. Don't match anything there. You're going to have double hung. It should be double hung throughout. You are in the old historic district area, which is very important to the survival of our old district. And the south elevation, the same way, would be B windows. And on the south elevation, the B window on the right side upstairs is not, it's out of balance in its height compared to these two here. Where these come halfway through the floor. I think there's a misdrawing there. I say this. These wood French doors, they should have 2 there, maybe 12 light each, instead of these. These are more modern design of it, which you probably use out of town somewhere. Those are the comments. Thank you.
Okay, I agree with everything that's been said. I'm going to elaborate a little bit further. You've got this structure running, I think Diane brought it up as well, setback to setback to setback. A barn would never have been constructed like that on a little Greek revival of a garage that size. It never would have happened. They would have had a carriage house out that far, not on Main Street. They would have had a carriage house, smaller, 1-story. You have some ground cover to play with. This is a secondary dwelling, and under bylaw, you have to have a 20% differential in the footprint, which would put this structure about 1,000, give or take a couple of feet, 1,000 square feet on the ground. So you can't get much smaller than 1,000 square feet, or he's going to have to get 20% smaller than 131. So that has to be worked out. But the barn is way oversized. I hate saying this because I voted against it, but the barn that's up at Caton Circle on the old farmhouse, if you go to Caton Circle at the top of Main Street before you actually head out Nantucket Road there on that corner of Quaker Road, and look at that barn, that is a typical barn carriage house. It's got carriage doors. It would have been constructed.
Is it historic?
No, they rehabbed it.
Okay.
They got rid of the original one that was there because it was imploding and put this one in there. It had carried over a lot of the elements from the old
New
one.
construction 5 years ago.
Yeah, and it's got a broken back on it. It's oversized for this lot, but that design would fit nicely on this lot. If you wanted a barn that would have been constructed at a different time from the house necessarily, or on a lot by itself before the house went there. But I'm looking for something simpler, something smaller, something pulled in from these setbacks. And while we're on it, because you can see the hardscaping. The hardscaping is a no-go for me.
Yeah.
It's covering the entire lot in between the structures, and it's fully, the problem with this property, you have a beautiful tree, but it's fully visible.
Actually, two catalpas, yeah.
Right there, beautiful trees, but it's fully visible from Mill Hill. I mean, coming off of Mill Hill Prospect. So we're going to have to get to a design and a scope and a scale that's going to work. So maybe it's not 2 stories for me,
Yeah, and I
or it's the
think,
same height, whatever.
I think that there's a problem with sliding glass doors.
Oh, yeah, John said.
They're actually French glass doors. but-
Yeah, not in a barn. Or they would be, what would happen is you'd have the barn doors would be on sliders.
Yeah,
And
and
they'd be behind it, but they wouldn't be that style necessarily.
I'd like to make a motion to hold for revisions.
David's
Okay.
made a motion to hold for revisions on the secondary dwelling. All those in favor?
Aye.
And you've also made a motion to hold the hardscaping to track with the house?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
All in favor of that motion?
Aye.
Okay.
And, well, I have, could ask one other question. There's a proposed fence just behind the hedge, solid wood fence,
Not on the road.
but it would be completely invisible because of the height of the hedges. It's
How tall is the fence?
it's as tall as the hedges, 5.5 feet. The reason for it, it's an acoustical barrier. It's nearly impossible to.
Oh, yeah. Traffic on the-
It's,
going
yeah,
down
60
on
mile an
the-
hour.
Except that we don't approve solid board fences of that height on the street. So we'll have to come up with a different scenario. I know there's one just down the road from me, but it's very short, and it leads into a different scenario.
Yeah,
2 doors away from you.
and there's a few on Mill Street.
But I will try to come up with some other solution at the moment. So we're done with that one. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.
Those models always help. Dawn has to go at, what is that, 1:57? Let the record reflect that Dawn left at 1:57. Thank you. Old business, we'll carry on as far as we can get. Luke?
Have you got quorum issues with all of these?
I'm
Because
sure
I'm not
at least down to here. You gotta stay through Ferris.
Well, you're going to have to move Ferris up because I've got 15 minutes. So if you want to do Luke first, fine, but after that,
And Holly
we're gonna
Lamb,
bring it forward.
Mickey, are you here? Who's here? Ben? Is anybody here from Roland? Is anybody out in the hallway, Matt? Because I think there was yes, there is a problem with Holly Lamb, so you gotta do Holly Lamb also.
Put Ferris up first.
What do you have?
Well,
Oh, this we've been waiting for you also.
yeah.
Let's jump into
Go.
it.
Okay, well, this was a project you guys looked at
Landscaper.
quite a while ago, and I think at the table, you were going to go have a look on the site to have another site viewing. And
We need to know who the board is before we hand them out. And that's, while we're talking about one, Catherine, get that up for the next file. We don't have a quorum. Back it up. So it's got to go to the beginning of next week.
Is this the Africa?
I knew we were waiting for somebody. Dawn just got back from vacation. Yeah, we can't hear it. We don't have a quorum. So that is, Catherine is myself, Dawn, and Abby. Catherine, on the minutes, you have to be careful, because sometimes Only because sometimes we continued stuff with whoever was sitting here, but that was not opened, so you have to go back one set of minutes?
Yeah, that's what I just did.
Okay. All right, then we've got 92 Main Street.
Motion to bring forward Farrow's Properties, items 6 and 7 on the old business.
Hold on, I was waiting for you on this, too.
David, you have to make a motion on
this shouldn't take long.
Or are you going to make it a technical move?
Technical move on the end, we just don't have a form. Quickly, what are you doing? What are you taking up?
It's the,
He's removing that extra piece,
Yeah,
and he's putting planting back that used to be in front of the electric meter. He cannot get a sign off, he just can't get it without, he's taking this all out again,
Okay, all
and he's
right.
putting the planting back in front of the box.
the planting used to come across the front of that
It was a tree.
sunroom.
It wrapped around, anyway.
Yeah.
It was a tree.
it was a single,
Single tree right
huge
there.
tree.
Yeah.
This is for the minis?
Okay, I
Yeah.
think that's satisfactory, but the installation and maintenance of that planting to conceal the electrical box, and it needs to be year-round evergreen.
Yeah.
Would need to be a requirement.
Yeah.
Do we want that box sheathed additionally? Because we have a long history of approving screening planting for stuff, and you just one way or another, you wind up looking right through it. And so, it turns out to be a fig leaf.
All right, can you just box it? Natural weather box.
Box it and plant it.
It does say evergreen shrub on that plan.
Okay.
Natural to weather, you don't want it white, because it's in front of a white.
Oh, it's
It should be, if it's, white on
white on
white,
white.
if
It's clappered.
yeah.
All right, white.
Doesn't it?
There's like a
Yeah,
raised
it just
panel,
says-
there's a raised
Both the
panel.
foundation and the,
It might.
yeah.
Make a decision.
What, is he the only one voting on this?
No, we're just trying to get what that's going to be.
My recollection is it's about that tall, and it's got about 2.5 feet overlapping the foundation,
So we have
and
an
it
idea of
sticks
what
up
we're
about
doing.
18 inches onto the clapboard.
You can't have a box that's two different
You
freaking
can't.
colors.
Look, I think if we've got evergreen planting, we'd be better to go with something that's natural to weather.
Fine.
Okay?
All right. So what we're talking about now, Diane, is he's picking up that where the Mini Cooper's sitting.
Yeah.
That brick, and then he's going to put screening, year-round evergreen screening in front of the electric meter back where the tree used to be. And the box on the electric meter is going to be natural to weather, just a box, nothing fancy.
Is there a height on that?
That's top of the electric meter.
Can it be such that the electric meter screen is exposed? You know how some people, they leave them?
Yeah, I don't think you need to.
You don't need to,
If you've
'cause
got
they're-
it as a hinged door, they'll just open it, but I think they're reading
They don't
most
get
of
out.
it.
They're reading with
all
a-
electronically.
They
with
read
a zapper.
electronically.
Okay.
Yeah.
They don't get out anymore.
Okay.
It
So,
says evergreen shrub.
Right.
There's no description of the name of the shrub. That's what I'm saying. No description. He could put something in that wide, foot high.
no, we're going to make the approval conditioned on the installation and maintenance of evergreen shrubbery adequately to completely obscure a view of the electric meter and its natural
Run that
weather
again, you're going too fast. Installation and maintenance of evergreen
screening
screening.
sufficient to completely obscure a view to the electric meter and its natural to weather wood cover.
Natural to weather.
This-
The plan,
Is that file not, was that not there?
Can I get that back?
that's going to be Exhibit A, for Exhibit A. Mark it. It's not marked in that tree. Diane, anything to add to that?
So just make sure that it goes with the,
No, we can't hang on to that. That was the ambulance.
with the house, so the next guys can't knock it down.
Right, that's installed and maintained.
All right, so that's David's motion,
Okay.
and it's per Exhibit A. Anybody else have anything to add to that? And it's natural to weather box, Terry? Okay, all those in favor of David's motion?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. And that's through staff.
Thank you.
That's Exhibit A. Holly Lamb, what's the board on that?
Williams, Gate, McLaughlin, James, Leonardo, Merton.
All right, we can do that without David then. Sea Terrier, nope. Ferris, can we go past Sea Terrier for a moment and past Holly Lamb, since nobody's here for Holly Lamb?
Before we go on, What we needed to say was that the approval was conditional on.
Yes, it's conditioned on Exhibit A, as specified. Let's go back to Ferris. Representing the applicant,
Matthew McEachern.
Sarah Alger.
and Catherine, when we approve something, we need the thing out here on the table immediately. Because I'm not sure we signed theater workshop either. We didn't, and we didn't sign lead real estate I can do in the office, but we need theater workshop out here, and we need, they've got to come out immediately. And 92 Main. I need the COAs out on the table.
Which one are we on? We're on 24?
Yeah, but they're legal. I need those COAs now, which means I need 92 Main Street, and I need Lee, and I need Theater Workshop, which is 62 Center. I need both those COAs.
We're doing Ferris right
Yeah.
now, right? I have Holly Lamb.
Yeah, just leave it there.
Yep.
Holly Lab also, just you and me.
Me, for now. It'll soon be years.
No, you weren't on either of them.
What is that?
This one is 92 Main Street, and we need the Theater Workshop, which is back a couple of them.
So high pressure. We fold it up to the moment. There's a lot of
Yeah, a lot of tension.
It's really by one individual.
Yeah.
That's why he's not here.
I also can't keep my phone charged, and that's causing me a lot of stress.
You said that. You've been saying that for
It's
weeks.
killing me. I swear to God, it's my whole days. Running out of battery. I bought a Mophie. That doesn't work.
All right,
I
we
did
need
that
Ferris.
too. We'll have to talk.
17
Broad
Broad
Street.
Street's going to be a green file, big green file. There are two of them.
That looks like it.
It's 53 North Liberty.
You go past that. It should be the next green files you come to. There should be two of them. Are you serious? He was supposedly have done this. It could be in the next box.
Hold on.
I confirmed this with Andrew and Leslie this morning.
I think we should have a period of like deep breathing or something.
I can't stand delays. I can't stand them. I can't stand them. We got so limited time today, and all this crap's going to come up on Tuesday again if we don't get it done. And I can't keep doing that. I have 120 items that came in yesterday.
Yes.
Wow.
And I would say from 9:30 last night, going through every one of them, and then trying to find them.
That's all right. This project is beautiful.
Got to admire the quality of legal representation on this job.
Yes.
I would never do that.
David, okay, now everybody, why isn't everybody signing 92 Main?
I don't have it.
Because you've been holding
Right
it.
there. And then we've got to go to John and Diane. Diane, there it is. And beyond that, I have no clue. Who's sitting on this one? There is a board.
I'm on this.
You got to make sure it's the last set of minutes. Williams, McLaughlin, Williams, what?
Yeah, no, we never went forward without David. I
No,
don't
that's
think.
what I'm saying. We got to look at the minutes. The last time we actually said something. Because we did not go forward without David.
Kaufman, Horn, Keynes, and Camp.
There you go. Everybody at the table. We've got to be careful with this. All right. What?
Okay, should I go?
Yeah, waive it. We're not waiving, we're just going.
Sure. Thank you. So, I'd say most of the elevation changes are on the southern elevation. Starting on the third floor, we were able to lower the elevator shaft projection to the bare minimum. We've eliminated any ganged dormer. We did retain one on the north elevation, which we could easily get rid of if you saw fit. What's that?
Can you put the
Plans.
elevations first?
I can make a note of that. First floor windows, we had actually made them larger, basically 6/9s. You felt that they were too large, so we actually went back to 6/6s, but they're actually larger than the second floor B types.
I thought you were going to 2/2s, so you didn't compete with the other building.
We looked at the 2/2s, and it just looked.
Didn't we talk about that, David?
You guys did discuss it, and we actually drew it, and it just didn't. It didn't look right. It really just looked straight. I can bring in a copy of it, but it just didn't look right.
Matt, maybe I thought the proportions of the overall window when you had the taller windows was attractive. It was just too many panes.
Gotcha.
When you go 2/2, the lights become too big and too vertical.
Right.
Maybe on the way is well, stay with the high proportion, but take a look at doing a 2/4. I think it'll give you proportions that'll work both upstairs with your 2/2 and will make the panes look a reasonable size.
I thought the 6 inches too long. I didn't like these windows that long. They're close to the board at all. I thought they were too long. I wanted them cut back at least one pane. That's what I was looking for.
Well,
one
I
pane.
like the size of the windows that he has on the submission.
They feel a bit more proportionate.
Yeah, it's much more typical. One thing that might help, they're awful close to the floor. If they were lifted 6 or 8 inches, which you've easily got the ceiling height to do, it would help. It would also save you having to make them. No, I'm talking about the previous. See how close to the floor they are?
I know, that's one of my problems. I was hoping the body pane would come off, period. I'm not happy with that length of window. I can walk through the window.
All right, well then, maybe if you go with a 2/4, you may be able to come up with something that's not exactly that height, something less, but something in between. But I do think the vertical first floor window is typical of the style. And so we simply need to get to something that the panes look right in it, and the overall proportion is suitable for the wall surface it's going on.
Okay.
I do think it helps you to lift them up, because right now you're going to have to temper all those units, and they also just look too low.
Okay.
I think I'd like to see a drawing of the 2/4s.
Oh, yeah.
It doesn't.
I could provide that as a comparative drawing.
But also, anybody want to consider that if these windows got shorter in the previous submission, that the 6/9 and smaller panes would work? Would we have those all over town? It would just be a shorter window, but then the pane would be smaller, more like the panes in the 6/6s above it. And then the 6/9s would work, which is my preference.
I think the longer windows make it look more Victorian and don't compete with the historic building on the corner.
That's what worries me, Linda, is that we've got, 8 windows in a row across that first story level that are all identical. And you've got the windows on the Greek Revival matching the windows on the Victorian.
So that's what I'm saying. Something in between what he's showing us and the 2 long ones. They need to be shorter, but not hugely shorter. But then the 6/9s would work because the panes would be the right size.
Madam Chairperson, could we stop? I can't hear both of you, and I know I have a hearing problem, and I look a little respect on it. One person at a time. Thank you.
So, Madam Chairwoman, if I could, so what we're going to do is we'll find a size between the previous submission and the current submission as a 2/4, and maybe go a little bit larger than the current 6/6 that we're showing, but not quite as long. Yeah. We'll provide an alternative. For the next submission, we'll provide a comparative analysis there.
Okay, so let's move beyond the windows. Let's
So,
get to
we'll
the other stuff.
Talk about some of the architectural detailing on the first floor. So we redesigned that entryway, the post and rail detail, the baluster rail. We added actually a couple of posts. David, you had talked about adding more of a pilaster detail. We thought that we tried to do this post detail. We actually did the same thing on the west elevation, extended that out further so it didn't clip the window. We had 2 ganged windows, first and second floor in that west elevation. Those have since been omitted, just in favor of a single. Again, third floor dormer, we've eliminated the double dormer.
Stay on this side. Didn't you push this back?
What's that? We actually, we didn't. We actually changed, there was a break in the eave line previously. We actually made it run continuous. We actually have a...
You're losing me. Where is this breaking the line?
I don't see it either.
On the connector piece. Linda asked us to actually reduce the depth of it.
The porch roof is actually broken slightly.
Previously, there was an eave line that was exposed, and now we've actually just made it continuous. We've got a section here which we have requested, actually.
Right.
One thing to note, we went to the planning board, and the board, the HCC as well, felt that the access to the roof walk was not something we want to be in favor of, and so that section still does show a door. We would omit the door, and we could also reduce the double dormer to a single dormer. We've also lowered the height of that roof deck so that it wouldn't be to code.
Did you chip the roof back? One of the things we have to do is slant the roof back to get the deck smaller by half.
It's actually, you can see the section demonstrates, it's actually, the deck has been augmented to basically follow the elevation, which I think is more successful. It started to look a little squat, so we didn't want to adjust the proportion too much.
Okay.
The center dormer on that connector piece has obviously been reduced to a 9-light. That, I believe, is a window. This window.
Yeah, but 9-light what? Like a basement?
It actually could be fixed. I don't really think it needs to be operable at all. Yeah. It's not going to be accessible, so. Yeah.
David?
The last point on the windows, I'm uncomfortable with the first-story windows having gotten wider than the windows above. And I've got a question about the dormer windows. Are you using the third-story dormer windows for egress?
They don't need to be.
Okay. Then I think they look a little oversized still.
Okay.
I think they ought to get a bit smaller.
Are there too many of them also? Maybe just 3?
It could be that just 3 is the right number across the front. It's a very crowded elevation.
Okay.
Yeah.
This is too crowded. That's too crowded.
Yeah. And to stay on that topic, when you go around on the west elevation, you've got 2 dormer windows above that entry porch.
Should be 1.
It should be 1.
Okay, hold on 1 second.
And similarly, on the left-hand side of the west elevation, I don't think you'd ever get a dormer window pushed right to the corner of the mansard the way that dormer window is. So I think you probably need to drop those to 2 also.
That's going to help this roof.
Okay.
And the same thing around the rest. You really can't see the ones over there.
I went back out and viewed the property again today before the meeting. And there are a couple of things that are concerning to me. I think they're things that the committee ought to think about. It may be something you're not worried about, but I think you ought to be fully aware of it before you sign off on this. This building sits right smack up on the street. The building immediately to its left, the Victorian with the elaborate bay, sits back from the street.
But it's the only one that sits back in the street.
Bless you.
And these are going to be quite close to each other. So where you now walk up the street on that side of the sidewalk and have a view of that Victorian, once this is built, you're not going to get that view until you're essentially past this building. The other thing to remember about that building is that although it has got a mansard roof and a turret, the mansard roof begins above the first floor level, not above the second floor level, and this building is going to tower over the building next door.
Well, we said that right at the very beginning.
Okay, well, it might be useful before we sign off on this to ask for a street elevation, because I think there are going to be some people who are shocked, and we shouldn't be among them. If it's something we decide we want to do, it should have been seen by the public and reviewed at this table.
Are you suggesting that this be pushed back a couple of feet so it becomes subordinate to the original and a little bit more back so the one next to it is not dwarfed?
You know, I think given the scale and the mass of this thing, that moving it back a few feet would help enormously. It would permit some planting which would soften the street edge. I realize that it represents a major change to the applicant's plans at this point, but, you know, it may be something that's necessary to do.
You're going for a certain program with a certain square footage, interior square footage, which is driving, I said this at the planning board anyway, driving this structure to go here, here, and here.
Could I just, because I think there's a couple of quick points, and because David does bring up some valid points. At the planning board, David, we actually do have a street elevation going from the Brotherhood all the way down to the Whaling Museum. And it's actually pretty effective. And so I think actually from a streetscape perspective, it actually fits in relatively well. So I felt like the planning board was felt comfortable with that. The second point I would bring up is that the existing building itself actually sits right up on the property as well. And so we would basically be maintaining that same precedent. Secondly, we actually, this building is actually being shifted about 9 feet or so away from the adjacent property where the existing building now sits right on the property line. So I do think while, I don't think it's going to mask that adjacent building as much as you think. I think we're actually pulling it away, and that was, again, part of the planning board process to give this some space between the adjacent property as well.
I think you make all the right points in your favor, and everything you say is so. I think the big difference is the existing building is a one-story wing, and the new one is a 3-story structure with an elevated basement. And so it's going to feel like a tremendous change to people. I would really love it if you would make available to us that street elevation.
Certainly.
And it may well satisfy all our questions.
Can I make one comment?
I'll allow that.
David, are you done?
No, but if it's on this subject, let's take the question.
Well, I'd just rather you finish and just keep going. We've got to be almost close.
Fine, I'll defer to the chair. Last time we saw this, we asked for the link to be pushed back, and it really hasn't been. And I at least asked for the entrance to the hotel to be into the mansarded section of the building. Right now, this section that you've just given us show the stairs leading into that link protruding even beyond the face of the building. And I think that given their width and where signage is likely to go, this link is still functioning as the main entrance to the complex. And that's reinforced by the fact that that's where your circulation desk is and everything else. That's not the story that this complex is telling otherwise. So I have 2 suggestions. First is that you move it back suggested. Second, I think the staircase should not come directly toward the street. I think the staircase should start on the left-hand side or the right-hand side and run parallel to the building and come down to a landing that is maybe 2 or 3 steps above the street, and that there be a fence and a gate to set all of this back so that all of those things say to someone, this is not the main entrance to the building, it's an ancillary entrance for the use of guests. I would encourage you to make the porch deeper so that people can sit on it. Right now, it's just a piece of decorative fluff applied to the front. And I also think that the roof over it is far too high. And when I look at the building sections that we've been furnished, I can see that there's a lot of ceiling height. I'm surprised to discover that we've got over 10 feet floor to floor between the first floor and the catwalk connection that you've got between the two.
That's existing.
Yeah, and that there's 8'4" plus to the plate height inside the building. So I really think that ceiling height ought to drop to something like 7'8". You ought to look for ways to frame. It's just a connector. You ought to look for ways to frame that roof as thinly as possible, because right now you've got about what looks to be a 2-foot or less parapet for your HVAC, and I don't believe you're going to be able to hide your HVAC behind it.
I think
And we're not going to be happy with HVAC that's sticking up from behind it. So all of those things need to be taken into account and massaged together. The porch posts that you're proposing have still got little brackets on them. They need to go away. They're not appropriate to the style. And I think that the side porch facing the street on the south should not have a hipped roof over it. It should be a flat roof, which would be typical on a Victorian porch. And I think that the door that faces the street, or rather the door that gives you access off of
But I don't want to spend too much time
that stairs.
designing it, but
You know, you very commonly on a Victorian, it would be narrow French doors with a window pane in each, not unlike the doors that are on the red roof house on Orange Street. Okay?
we're never going to get to anybody else.
Matt, there have been some changes on the North Water Street elevation to
They want east.
east elevation.
those are actually, David, the east elevation is actually the updated as-built. The previously submitted east elevation was part of the schematic design phase, and so the east elevation is the accurate as-built.
Okay, so as
So there's
shown
no
here at
change.
1/4 inch is what you're going to do, and that looks to me also to be essentially what's there right
Correct.
now.
Correct.
Okay, and your plans are still showing a handicap lift in that porch, but the elevations don't.
I'm actually
figure it out.
I'm actually meeting with Tom Hopkins tomorrow to talk about strategies, because I think the planning board's discussed
Over there.
moving it, and so I'm going to sit down with him and talk about what the best solution is.
We've asked, the planning board's asked to come this direction with it,
Okay,
and not that direction.
okay. And
But they're not having cars anymore, so they can put one in the back.
Right. We also asked that the first floor level of the hotel and the house be dropped 6 or 8 inches. Did that happen?
It did not, and we talked with the civil engineer, and because we've got a perched water table, there's like a concern about going lower than we actually are currently. We've actually got 4 rooms in that lower level as it is, and again, it's a function of trying to stay within a specific scale there. So there was a lot of concern about actually dropping the foundation even lower than it is currently. I could maybe talk to him about maybe lowering it, what the minimum he would be comfortable with, which maybe, we talked about it actually, and it wouldn't make us happy, but I could maybe get like 6 inches.
I think that would make a difference. Let's see if we can get that.
Okay, anything else that we can move on?
Nope, move on. Oh,
Abby?
I'm sorry, one last thing? Sorry. The elevator on the elevations is showing in a different location than it's showing on the plans.
Okay.
It keeps
Plans
moving.
are showing it further forward on the building. And I'm fairly comfortable that generally where you've got it placed
In plan.
in plan,
Yep.
Right.
because of the present massing, you're not going to see it much coming down Broad Street. Or, and I don't think you're going to see it much from directly across Broad
Okay,
Street.
so the point is that he has to fix
No.
the
Listen, the point is that standing on the corner of the town building of Broad and South Water, you're going to be looking across the low link, right up at that elevator. And you're only back, according to your floor plans, a couple of feet from the roof edge. So there's going to be a great deal of visibility of that elevator shaft, looking up at the building from the corner, from the town building corner of Broad and South Water. Is there a way to move that elevator further north so that it is better concealed?
I can look at options. We may actually have a little bit of flexibility there. I can look at that.
Let's do that. That's got my interest.
All right, Abby, anything to add? You had a question?
On the connector, I like the previously submitted door with the windows in it that makes it look like a sun porch instead of the solid two-panel.
Okay.
Two-panel doesn't belong there. Diane, anything to add?
Yes, I do. On the east elevation, oh, no, sorry, it's on the north elevation, the double windows, basement windows in the connector. You've got so many basement windows.
That's the back of the building?
Yeah.
You got too many basement windows.
You've got basement windows all over, everywhere. And those are ganged, and I think there should only be one.
Okay.
We mentioned that they had too many basement windows
Right,
last
they got,
time.
well, they still do.
They still do.
All lost any. I don't know, if you don't need all those windows, I'd cut some of them out, because it's just,
Yeah, David signed
it makes the building look that much taller.
Okay.
Okay, John, anything to add?
Yes. All the basement windows are D windows. It says over here, D windows are double hung windows.
Yeah, I think they're not matching the schedule. John, I'll fix that.
Well, I find it, somebody had this application, and they said, it said D windows double hung, and they put in the small ones,
Yeah.
violation.
Right.
I think this should be straightened out, all the windows here, if you've got the G
We'll
window.
update that. It's obviously an error, sorry.
I mean,
I don't have time for back and forth anymore on this.
on the south elevation,
We're never going to get caught up.
you mind if I talk, please? I can't listen to you.
No, I asked him not to
We're gonna have
respond
a cross
over and over and
conversation,
over.
all
I'm
right?
not.
I have the floor, let me speak.
That's enough.
Let me speak.
I asked him not to keep going back and forth and over again and let you finish.
You don't interrupt
I
me, please.
asked him to let you finish,
You gave me the floor, I have the floor.
but I asked him not to interrupt
Okay,
you.
you take your
Linda,
more time
quiet, leave me
arguing.
alone.
You're
back
clearly
and
not
forth.
listening to anything that anybody's
Leave me
saying.
alone, woman. Now,
Oh, be very careful with that, John.
yeah. South elevation,
Wrong
where
person.
the door, I agree with David, the door should be narrower.
Okay.
The window above it, there's a nine light, and there's no description of a 9 light here. That should be a double hung to match the rest of them. You can get the D window in there size.
Okay.
I think we should do that. I believe in a prior meeting, Mr. Barham made a statement that on the third floor and second floor, if you took away the shaft room, which is sticking up with a flat roof, I believe Mr. Barham made a statement that if you put it on the third floor, or second floor, and first floor, it wouldn't interfere with the rooms. You'd only lose one room. On the second floor, you'd lose one room. You may not lose it here. No, you wouldn't. It wouldn't affect the rooms. So it's just that you're having that flat roof up there. Other people are going to complain, and I don't want to hear it. I don't think the commission does. The other comment, I agree, and if you can move it back a bit, yes. I agree with Mr. Barham on that. I think the shaft should disappear. That's on that. I agree with the 6/6 windows. Makes it a little more harmonious in there. That's a good change. I just Oh, on your chimney. On your
Don't, just pass
chimney, on your east elevation, the chimney will be highly exposed from the east, west, and north.
it. No, not for a
And those metal caps, put a regular column of bricks up and
No, you haven't done too much, Diane.
It's existing, so
Okay.
that's already there, I believe. That chimney cap, I think, is there, but we can get rid of it if you like.
Yeah, we'll just put another
Sure.
flat cap on top
Okay.
of the scale. Prior to moving it forward, I think if the entrance is going to be on Broad Street,
Mm-hmm.
Who's Mr. Hooper?
and this here, you could eliminate a lot of this and get the house more this way, and then room to move it back. Suggestion.
All right, are we ready to move on?
No.
I apologize to everybody in the room who's not going to get hurt again. I know this is the third week in a row we haven't done any work on Thursdays.
Can I make a motion to
Excuse
go
me,
for addition?
that comment was because of the management of this.
Excuse me, we
Yeah.
are waiting too
That
long
is
to
our
get
problem.
through stuff.
What do you
Well, I
want
was
to
explaining-
You're enough.
I'm explaining to
You
the
made a
public.
motion to hold for, not listening to you. You made a
Well, you
motion to
are the
hold for
problem.
revisions.
Yes, I did make that
It's the
motion.
speed that we're moving, John. Diane's made a motion to
You
hold,
yell at all of us. and I'm not
Diane's
gonna
made a
prove nothing about
motion
me.
to hold 17 Broad Street for revisions. All those in favor?
Thank you.
Did
Thank
you make
you.
a motion that,
To hold the demolition of the garage
to track it?
to go with the,
Okay.
Thank you.
That's unanimous? Okay.
That's this theater sign, you have to
All
sign.
right, let the record reflect that David is now leaving. David, you will be here on Tuesday, right? Because some of this stuff, I think, is going to get into trouble without you. And that is at 35. All righty. We're going to back up to Holly Lamb. Oh.
I don't
Yeah.
know that you have a.
We do have a quorum. There's everybody, I think, that was here
I
can
don't know if
sit.
there's anyone here for that.
We don't need it. You can just come on out.
All right, I'm just going to stay here. I don't have
Stay
anything to
there.
do with it, but here, I'll just wheel away
You
momentarily.
just wheel away. Is Luke out? Is Luke out there? Luke is here. We need to go. I think you've got a set of plans. I've got a set of plans. Abby, come on down. We never gave them back. But you need to tell us. Holly Lamb. Once and for all. Yes. And who's sitting on Holly Lamb?
It is Williams, Hill Holgate, McLaughlin, Queensbury, not a finger of camp.
So everybody's sitting, right?
Right.
Okay. They did get planning board approval for the driveway. That was the biggest issue. Oh, this is not the hardscape, this is the house. East elevation, south elevation. Here it is, they pulled it back. Remember, this is all attached to the front of the house, they pulled it back to here. Does anybody have any concerns with this now? They've just connected the two porches, they got rid of the thing in the middle of it, and now they're separate, and it doesn't come all the way far forward on the house. Remember that, Diane?
Yeah.
Does anybody have any concerns with this now?
It looks like he's done what we asked him to do.
Abby has no concerns, Diane has no concerns. John, any concerns?
Just one on the north side.
They're not doing anything on the north side, are they, Diane?
I don't have anything to change on the north side.
There isn't any change on the north side, John, it's all on the south.
I'm looking, I'm looking at the east side.
That faces the road.
Right. Okay, no problem. Thank you.
Somebody make a motion, please. Motion to approve. Diane's made a motion on the house to approve. All those in favor? Aye. All right, let's go to the hardscaping quickly, please.
Just throw it over.
I'll go over.
Yeah. They did get approval at the planning board for the connected driveway based on the fact that they always had 2 driveways in those locations, and they connected them. This isn't hardscaping, this is the house. I need that one back. My problem with this was that this is not paved. They do, see, that's my problem with this. Still, is that they've got 2 cobblestone aprons going to Pilgrim Road, and I think it's not paved there, right?
Pilgrim Road
It's still dirt, right?
At that-
I didn't miss something there, right?
spot should be paved. I thought it was paved, making the arch going up to cliff.
Is it paved? How do we find out? Well, it looks like it's paved. No, it's not paved. Well, at least on the old GIS map. Does anybody have any idea if Pilgrim Road is paved at any point?
Yes, it's paved halfway.
It's paved halfway. Isn't that what he said at one point, that this was paved?
It's dirt coming in from
Westchester.
Westchester, and then just after it makes the corner, it's paved, I
Okay.
believe.
Then it is paved. So does somebody want to make a motion to
I make a
approve
motion
that?
to approve,
Provided the cobblestone
Provided it's-
aprons are
yeah.
allowed, provided it's paved in that section.
provided the Pilgrim Road in front of the driveway entrances are paved.
Terry, you got that?
Paved.
All in favor of Diane's motion?
Aye.
Okay, Terry, it was the cobblestone aprons on the driveway are allowed, provided Pilgrim Road is paved at that section. Okay, who's up next? Sea Terrier? Is that good for you, Terry?
All right, is that unanimous?
Yep. Sea Terrier?
Williams, Hillgate, McLaughlin, Kings, and Camp.
Yep, everybody sits. We're on number 5, John. Representing the applicants?
Sarah Alger.
Alicia Rani?
Go.
Okay, as requested, we did a little research into the building, at the building department,
Oh, I never had a chance to look at that.
into the age of the building, and took some additional interior photos. We found that the building was extensively renovated in 2004, and although it dates back to the 1920s, almost none of the original structure remains. New windows, new wall studs, new loft, new roof, new foundation. I have a packet of interior photos showing all of this information.
All the rafters are new, the collar ties are new, roof sheathing, wall studs are sistered in, there are new beams, new joists.
Whole new roof.
There's a, the whole roof is new. There's a modern overhead garage door, one of those metal things that goes up on a set of tracks.
And not just the roof, but one of those pictures clearly shows how it's all new studs holding up the roof as well. It has some old studs just piecemeal nailed to the old sheathing. And that's about it as far as the second-story structure.
Did you pursue Slozak at all?
We talked to him, and he's not enthusiastic. The thing is in such poor condition, he doesn't think he'd be able to use it.
Slozak does not want it.
There's a picture near the end of the packet with an exterior photo showing how the wall on the outside really bows out terribly.
In its current condition, with the way the framing's been done, it's not structurally sound.
unfortunately.
Literally
It's just,
balloon framing.
it's just been completely bastardized. All the windows are new, I don't know if we said that.
Okay.
Well, I
John?
mean, really, all that's there is some sheathing.
John?
Before 1947, well before, I think that this style of bond is appropriate to try to save and not to demolish. You aren't many of these bonds this size on Nantucket. That's my
I think you
opinion.
missed your entire presentation.
It needs more research, but if they didn't say that it's structurally unsound, I'd like to see an engineer's report, if you're going to go by that.
Well, we have a
We
builder
have
here.
some pictures of the structure showing that it's all new
All
two-by-fours.
new roofs, new studs, new everything. New windows, everything.
Well, no, we're just destroying it, move it.
It can't,
Somebody will take it.
it's not structurally sound, unfortunately. We have our builder here, he can attest to that.
Who's your builder?
I said
Mr. Wellen?
I said engineer.
Oh.
I heard you, Mr. McLaughlin, I don't have a hearing problem.
Okay. I wish I did.
Abby, we're going to get appealed on this one.
I'm not in favor of demolishing it or moving it. I think it's even if it has new stud walls and roofing, I think it retains its old profile, which we are losing a lot of these old barns, and I'm not in favor of moving it or demolishing it.
Did you do this?
Diane?
This shows where it was.
I agree with Abby. Oh, boy. Don't make me take this.
All right, then I have other additional pictures that I want to
This shows the
submit.
foundation.
That shows the new foundation. This shows the
Allow
Modern-
them for a corner board, that's good.
the modern-day garage overhead door.
Modern overhead door, brand new windows,
Cut
new
in.
roof,
This
new
shows
studs.
the,
A replica is not savable under the law.
I wanted to show, oh, here are the new windows.
All the old siding is there.
That's it.
The only thing that's there is
roof
sheathing.
sheathing.
All the siding itself is new.
There's no roof sheathing.
But, well,
All the roof sheathing is new.
they had to put on a new roof, but I'm
So the entire roof is new. All this, everything is new except for some of the sheathing, which is,
All right, I don't want to go back and forth.
which is in, I just want to get this in the record
You need to get it in the record.
because it's covered with shingles
floor is
and
new.
interior sheathing.
Put those other guys as they come by.
Do I defend myself, or what do I do?
Town council's going to have a hard time defending.
Well, it doesn't matter if what
Let-
we're
let-
trying
let
to
it go through.
preserve, it just has to go to town council then. because-
Well, then, do you want a
All
denial?
right. Well, I do, I assume you're denying it, but before you deny it, I want to get all these pictures in. I also,
Can you put them all in at one time, please? This is wasting time.
I also want to put on the record that there was no permission granted by the owner for anyone to be on this property. I believe that town council was clear that members of the staff and HDC were not to go onto private property
Let alone go
without
in the building.
permission. I don't represent the owner of the building, but I will be bringing this to the attention of those representatives. The building itself is, it's in the woods.
Anything else you want to put into the record?
No.
I think the record's full.
So to the extent that we're preserving it, it's in a place where without trespass, it can't be seen or
I happened to fly
otherwise.
over it the day that we saw it, that Tuesday or that last Thursday.
That isn't going to count, just so you know.
No, I'm just saying that I saw it on the lot.
That's actually the only place it's visible when you're flying.
Well,
All right, let's stop that conversation, because that's not something town council's going to want to hear either.
Well, it
So-
wasn't my plane. I was.
What do you want to do?
Madam Chairman, according to the presentation and the photos, The structure itself might have been fallen down 50 years ago, but the whole inside of it is rebuilt and it's strong.
No.
It has not gone to the
Don't argue
dogs
with
yet. All that new material in there, all the 2x4s, studs, everything, it's all new. The strength of that barn is terrific, according to the photos. There's no reason to be destroying a nice old barn like that. I'm sorry, Nick.
I
Now,
have to
don't-
say that I'd like Mr. Welland to just tell us about the strength of the barn, the way the sistering's been done.
What's wrong? Are you studying?
You got to come up to the table.
I also had an
You gotta come up to the
interim question. Is this barn on this, all this property or a separate lot? This was subdivided, wasn't it?
Yes, but
Property?
the subdivision plan hasn't yet been filed at the registry.
Right, but what I'm trying to say is the law states that if, just our district's law, states that if a subdivision is approved, the roads in that subdivision, the public has a right to view from.
It's not visible
And-
it's not visible from that road.
And I question that. That's all.
So it hasn't been filed yet.
No, subdivision
20
plan
years to
has
get
not
it
been
filed.
filed. So can Mr. Welland please just give his
Put it on the
opinion
record.
about the structural integrity
What's
and
it?
the
Full name?
sistering?
Full name?
Robert Welland,
Spell the last name.
W-E-L-L-E-N.
Did you get it, Terry?
You have to say what you do and what your qualifications are.
I've been a home builder probably for the last 35 years, maybe longer.
Okay. You got to speed it up. What's your assessment?
I would be afraid to be in that building if there was more than a 30-mile-an-hour wind. The short story.
Can you say why?
The rafters, I just have the top piece just leaning on top of the top sill,
Yeah.
and there's virtually very few collar ties that really make any sense.
Anything else?
There's bowing on the outside wall, and the whole building is tilted at the gable sides, probably 3 or 4 degrees. Even with the new roof, it's still bowed, it's still tilting. You would have thought that would have been fixed.
Anything else? Okay. Somebody needs to make a motion.
I would like to make one statement that the facts that I made my decision on the structure is I also have a contractor's license and I know the building trades. So I'm coming from another side. Thank you. I'll make a motion that we deny the application. It's inappropriate because of its age and strength and it's held architecturally appropriate exteriorly.
What was that? Architecturally appropriate?
Appropriate exteriorly on the outside. And everything fits typical barn except for the one overhead door. And I find that it should be maintained as always possible. Thank you.
You say maintain it in its current form and location, right?
Fine.
Are you denying the move-off as well? Just a question.
No, I didn't mind the roof off.
I thought the move-off was okay the other night.
I don't
No, I don't think so.
put that in there in my motion. They have the right to carry the request to move it. Yes, you should have that right. Because I've always said it's better to move something than to destroy it.
Okay, then we got a problem with the application. They've only asked for a demo, number one, which you're denying. You can't then turn around and say you approve and move off, because then we're not denying the application.
You're right.
So we can't do that.
Let's just
I
deal with the
didn't read
demo
it.
then. That's-
So if you want to move off, you have to come back.
Okay,
Okay, that's the safest thing to do.
that's fine.
All right, so John's made a motion to deny due to its age and the strength of the structure, and that it's architecturally appropriate on the exterior, and is typical of a barn, except for the overhead door. And it should be maintained in its current form and location. You got that, Terry? It's kind of important.
Let me read this back so you can tell me what I
Okay.
missed. Motion to deny the demolition as inappropriate due to its age and strength of the structure, and architectural appropriateness on the exterior except for the overhead door.
Yeah.
And it should be maintained in its current form and location?
Yeah.
All right, current form and location in all ways.
Did you get
Perfect.
the word strength in there?
Yeah,
Okay.
that was right at the beginning. Okay, John's made that motion. All those in favor of the denial?
Aye.
Opposed to the denial? I am.
Linda, how, do we sign
I'll
it
deal
the
with it.
same way?
Yeah, you sign, just sign it. I will attach an addendum
Thank you.
to this, like I did the last one.
Yep.
Linda, I have to go now, it's like 5.
All right, hang on a second, what was that superior, that was the line. Okay, where's the, I need the application.
It's,
Once it goes that way.
those two are,
Johnny.
the cabbage lane demolished, but I have to go, so if you get to it.
We're not getting to it.
And I
I
think
can't do
there's
that with 3 people.
a quorum problem for Calhoun, who I was supposed to be here for after.
All right, John, how long can you stay?
A minute. Here, till
All right, we can't do any more today. What Terry needs you to do is approve these minutes. I've been asked to hold on to February 4th, Terry.
February 4th?
Yeah,
Who asked you?
David.
David, okay.
Terry would like an approval on November 19th, 21st, 26th, December 3rd, 10th, 17th, 19th, January 7th, 14th, 16th, 23rd, 28th, 30th. And it should be 2004, Terry, on the agenda. And February 11, 13, and 20. Can somebody make that motion? Diane, can you make that motion?
I'd make that motion.
All right, Diane's made the motion to approve all but February 4th on the agenda. All those in favor? Aye. John?
abstain.
You can't. I'm voting, I abstain.
You need
I have
all
to
three
abstain.
people.
You need all 3 or just 2 out of the
Well,
3?
I think you
You need 2 out of the 3. You got to vote in favor of it. She needs them approved.
Which ones are
I can't vote in favor
approving?
of it. Everybody but February 4th.
Okay.
Are
All
you
those
okay with that?
November, December.
Well, then we don't have a vote. We'll have to carry it
Carry
over
the next
again.
meeting, yeah.
Sorry, Terry, I tried.
Okay.
John,
David, chance to
John.
look at your-
Oh, you signed it. Never mind, you signed it.
So, we're hearing at 2:56?
Adjourn. Somebody make a motion to adjourn, John?
So moved.
John's made a motion to adjourn at 2:56. All those in favor? Aye. Guys, we will try to bang this out again like last week at the beginning of next Tuesday's meeting, but that meeting has 120 items on it. And now we have another 20.
I'll just take an approval.
I mean, it would have been approved.
You didn't bring Guinness cupcakes.
Yeah, the cupcakes.
Hold on, I can't talk to you. We got to stop this. We got to move faster on Thursdays, guys. This is just nuts.